From County College of Morris, this is CCM All Access.
Hello, and welcome to CCM All Access, the show that brings you news and information from the County College of Morris. I'm Jack Riggin, and I'm very pleased to have a familiar face to CCM All Access as our guest, Brenda Todd. She is an alumnus of CCM and former host and crew member of our show. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me, Jack. It's great to be here.
Thank you. And your last show was about a year ago, would you say, right?
I was just reminded of that, yes. I graduated in May with my associate's degree in broadcasting arts and technology. Yep.
Wow. And so what have you been doing since getting that degree?
Well, right now I have a couple of production companies. Brenda Todd Productions focuses mainly on video production for promotional purposes for like actors, artists, musicians, and athletes. And then I have Jive Media Production, which I just recently created because of some issues I had with the previous publisher of my children's book series. So it's kind of a liaison between me and the publisher.
That's very interesting. So could you tell me a little bit more about these children books that you've been publishing?
Yes, well, it's the Ben Ted Rescue Adventure series, and it's based on my dog, Benny, my rescue dog. And he's so many people have rescue dogs right now, and I think it's wonderful, and he's been such a great addition to our family. And it's just some of the true life stories of things that he does that I think that children would find really, really amusing. So I have Benny's story, Benny Meets Teddy, and then Benny and the Cats is coming pretty soon. I have ideas for a few more. And then some other books, like the Shy Pigeon, and Do You Remember When? So I have some other ideas for children's books. So I'm excited about that.
That's very cool. And so you've kind of been able to continue your, your studies in broadcast media that led you to some of your production studios, but you've even expanded into other new areas.
I have. And currently I'm a contractor with Atlantic Health System. Myself and two other media specialists coordinate with our public relations and marketing departments, as well as physicians, nurses, and executive officers, to produce content for the hospital's promotional and in-house media needs. We also execute and monitor in-person and virtual meetings and fix XM radio issues and any other media issues that should arrive. We're very busy.
Yeah, I mean, especially during this pandemic, I mean, how have you been kind of able to adjust, to the craziness? I mean, all hospitals are so crazy right now. I can't even imagine how busy you are on a day-to-day basis working at Atlantic Health. Absolutely.
The media services department is very valued right now, which is really nice. And we're very busy, and it's really a pleasure. I've never worked in a hospital before, and I work for
Morristown Medical Center.
And it's just wonderful people there, wonderful people, and a really fun job. I feel so lucky that I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you think that CCM, was kind of able to prepare you to get to where you are right now? The professors and the students, what led you to this place in your career?
Well, definitely going back to school. Learning that I could learn things, that even if I was about to approach something and I was petrified that I wouldn't know it or would panic, I would kind of get past that because I'm like, wait a second, I've done this. I've panicked in every class. In fact, when I first started, I came home crying, sure that I would never be able to comprehend these things that these young people could comprehend now and work the technology. And I actually saved my technology class, my computer and technology class, as one of my very last classes. And it was in that class that I had Professor Patrick Burke, who offered me this job after seeing all of my experience that I had before I came back to school, which was in film production and working with talent and that type of thing. So he thought, maybe she'll be good for this, and it's worked out really well.
Wow. And you were able to kind of, what was your experience like working, going back to school as an adult? That can be very intimidating for a lot of older people to go back and study at school. What was your experience being around so much younger people and, feeling that, like you said, that you can't keep up with them and they're all intellectually, you're surpass them and you have to try and stay with them. What was that? How did that go?
It was very intimidating, and I really wasn't sure how it would be to be working alongside of these young people. I mean, I have 3 sons, so I kind of had experience, of course, with young people, but not really in a classroom setting. And I wasn't sure how the professors would view me. I wasn't sure if people would make fun of me. And I honestly did not even anticipate the problems I would have with technology. That was one of the biggest things. The first class I went into, our first assignment was to get on a PC, and I had never worked on a PC before. I could barely do emails on my Mac at home. And I was mortified. I sat there red-faced, and I even had a few people chuckling at me, but the very kind girl next to me showed me exactly what to do. I got through it. I went home and told my husband, I'm not going back. This is horrible. I'm not going to do it. And he said, well, remember what you told me when I went back to grad school? And I said, we just wasted $65,000 because I'm not going to be able to do this. Oh. You told me, yeah, you can do it. Don't be ridiculous. You can do it. So he told me the same thing, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And so, there were a lot of classes, actually, that were like that. When I first started my editing class, and now I love editing, but when I first started my editing class, I told the professor at the end of the class, Professor Slovank, who was so wonderful, I said, thank you so much. You're so kind, but I don't want to hold the class back because I honestly have no idea what you're doing. I lost you like at the first 2 lines of instruction. And he very kindly said, you're not going to quit this class. You can come in any time and I can help you. Here's my phone number. Here's the computer to take home. And you're going to do this. It's going to work. And so he was wonderful. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. And then I came to the media department because, of course, I was taking the TV1 and TV2 here. And Joe Schill was wonderful helping me also with the editing. And I developed a love for it. So that's definitely something that has benefited me. Also, just discovering that I really loved working the studio floor, directing and being an assistant director, and even hosting, which was kind of a surprise because I didn't think I'd be hosting. But yeah, it's been really wonderful, actually.
Yeah, and like you said, that all these courses led you to ending up joining CCM All Access, and we actually have a little treat for you from the archives. We have a clip from your first show, which was taped in January of 2018. So let's take a quick look.
Hi, welcome to this edition of Spotlight Morris County, the program that brings you news and information from the greater Morris County area. Students on campus, members of the community, people doing good things. I'm your host, Brenda Todd. And today, I'm pleased to have as our guest, Professor Peter McGuire. Thank you, Professor McGuire, and thank you for telling us about the CCM Peace Prize. If you'd like to learn more about the County College of Morris Peace Prize, you can contact Professor McGuire by emailing pmaguire@ccm.edu. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Spotlight Morris County, and we'll see you next time.
So how did that first show go for you? Going back all those years to the beginning stages of CCM All Access back in 2018, what was that experience like for you?
Well, it was actually called Spotlight Morris County when we first started, and it was really a trial and error, of course. We knew that would be the case. Everyone forgave us our sins, which was really wonderful. And we had a good crew of people that stuck with us, and then people who would, other students that would come in and out that were really up for learning and up for the challenge. I brought in Melanie Matrano, and she did the song. I edited the first, I guess I edited both openings. And it was, you know, it was really fun. The guests, just working with the guests was wonderful. They didn't know what to expect. We didn't know really what to expect. We knew the things that we didn't want to talk about, but we didn't know completely what to talk about. But they would just kind of lead the conversation a lot of times. We have so many great professors and staff here at CCM, and you know, they'd come in really, really nervous, and once they started talking about their job, it was very easy. You know, they just kind of took off, and I think the shows were really good. They got better and better all the time.
Yeah, and I agree, and it helps to even exemplify, you know, how passionate the professors are about what they do and how much they care about the students as you experience studying here, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The professors, you know, there's going to be professors that you're not as excited about as others, but there's no doubt that whether you are or not, the professors who are passionate about what they do are the ones who are going to teach you the most. And you know, one thing that I learned and that I would love to I tell my kids and I would love to tell other students is that sometimes you clash with a professor, but that is a good experience too, because that's the way it is when you're out there in the working world. There's always going to be someone you're going to clash with, and you have to work around that. So every experience is a positive one if you look at it that way.
That's the best way to look at it, right? And as you mentioned, you were talking how you were involved in the editing and the theme song and logo around the TV show. So, like, what was kind of the process to go behind, you know, getting that all together? Was it, you know, extensive? Was it something you were kind of able to quickly pick up?
Well, you know, we had to figure out what was right, what was appropriate for the show, and so we did record a lot of footage. Some of which we used, a lot that we didn't. And then, of course, that changed when we made the CCM All Access video opening. And the song changed as well. And I think you even have probably an interview with Melanie Matrano talking about that. Mm-hmm. She was a great sport with that. But yes, it was exciting to do and to see. You know, it's great to see it on YouTube or wherever they're showing it every time, to say, oh wow, that's something that I did, you know, something that I put together, for sure.
Yeah, it's something to be proud of. I mean, yeah. We can definitely mutually agree on that. When you see your own work in action, you feel a sense of pride for it. But for now, we will take a quick break. So just please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
I'm Andrea Lucia, a graduate of County College of Morris. At CCM, I gained a high-quality education, was involved with clubs on campus, and performed university research in tissue engineering. My CCM education prepared me for ongoing success. Today, I am at Cornell University, studying engineering and performing research in cardiac tissue engineering. The professors and staff at CCM helped me to start right and finish strong.
And we are back on CCM All Access. I'm Jack Riggin, and we are chatting with Brenda Todd. So Brenda, tell us a little bit more about why you came to the decision that you wanted to go back to school.
Well, first of all, I started working and was on my own at age 16. So I worked a couple of jobs, and it was kind of amazing that I even finished high school, really, where I was at in my life. I did continue to go to community college, and I would take here and there, I would take some courses and try to get my degree. But I was young, and I have to say, every time that I got into those reading, writing, and arithmetic classes, I had nobody telling me I had to stay in school, so I would quit those classes, drop them, and continue with the dance classes and the acting classes. But fast forward to working in the film industry, doing a little modeling, doing some acting, working in film production, working in talent with a talent agency, and then having 3 children. The kids are older. We moved to New Jersey, and I'm going through kind of a hard time. I had a couple of people who are really close to me pass away, and it was really a difficult time for me. And I was having trouble sleeping and just not happy. So my husband said, "Why don't you go and take some classes at CCM?" And I said, I can't even sleep at night. Like, I'm going to get up and go to a class. You've got to be kidding. But he persuaded me to do it, and I thought, okay, well, I'll start with one class. And that was the film class that I took with Dr. Lowe. And by the time I finished that class, he told me that I should be writing film reviews. He was nothing but praise and wonderful, and I got an A in the class after starting off thinking that I couldn't even do the simplest thing there, that I would fail the first test. So I did that, and then I took a couple of other classes, and one of them was with Professor Slovank, which I mentioned, and he again believed in me more than I believed in myself. And then I thought, well, I'm really kind of enjoying this. Why don't I just go ahead and challenge myself and take those English classes and speech classes and math classes, So I went ahead and did that, and with every class, I have to say, I thought, I can't do this. And then I did it. And the math was it was math for liberal arts, and people might say that is maybe not one of your more difficult math classes, but for me it was really difficult. I hadn't been in a math class for many decades, and probably didn't pay attention much when I was taking it. So it was really challenging for me, and Professor Winston was so wonderful. All my professors were really, really great. I was afraid that they would kind of not really like me because I was an older student, or think, what are you doing here taking up our time? But it really wasn't that way. I really felt valued, and surprisingly, the students that were in my class, I felt pretty valued by them too. I used to tell my kids, I said, well, you can tell the students that get along with their parents and the students that don't, because the ones that get along with their parents are really, really nice to me, and the ones who don't, maybe, never mean, but kind of,
Yeah.
But there were very few of those, and in general, it was just encouraging the whole time. And I had friends telling me, why on earth would you do that to yourself? Why, at this time in your life, why would you be beholden to a professor? Anything you want to learn, you can learn online. And I thought, but I'm not challenging myself that way, And I realized that it was the challenge. It was the challenge and meeting those challenges that really made the difference. It doesn't matter what class you're taking,
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, I think you said it best. That's what I believe, how I felt as well, that this college kind of does in a way of challenging you and pushing you out of your comfort zone and getting you to try new things. And, this you see with students, from varying ages. Even I've experienced in other classes, I'll see adults, and you kind of feel a sense of like, we can all do this together. Like you're not so different. Like we're all here to get through this, and we're all here to get educated. And I'm sure you felt that way as well. Like
absolutely, we're all on the same level. Mm-hmm. We're all trying to learn this, and I was very excited to learn things. I'd find myself taking forensics and thinking, okay, that's it. I'm going to be a forensic scientist. Or, whatever I was going to do, that was a psychiatrist. Maybe I'll be a psychiatrist, a sociologist, because I would really get so excited about every class that I took. And, sometimes I think that the professors really read off of that, and they enjoyed having me in class. I think sometimes, I don't know, I guess I'm not one to speak to that. Maybe they are. But I did make friends with the professors a lot, and I enjoyed it. It helped me discover myself. I mean, even after all these years, right? You think, oh, well, we always think that we're going to become an adult and that we're going to know who we are. And then I was like, no, I had no idea. Like, you're always learning. we're always a work in process, right?
Yeah, I think you're able to kind of explore your passions and really hone in on your skills when you go to school here, and you saw it. I mean, I've felt it as well. I mean, even the courses outside of your core area of study, you find yourself getting wrapped into all the interesting topics and courses that they offer here at the school, and it's really very informative, and you can gain a lot from it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You shouldn't just stick to those things that you think you love and shun the things that you're afraid of or you think are going to be boring, because those can really be the ones that spark your interest the most, because you hadn't thought of them before. So absolutely, and it just leads to a well-rounded person. I also feel, I always felt like I couldn't really converse on certain subjects because I didn't have an education. I didn't have a background in history or sociology or multicultural communications. I didn't have that, and certainly not in anything technological. So to be able to just realize that I was still able to learn things, and that now I can speak on those topics with a little bit of knowledge, at least. And then the most surprising thing is that now I'm working in media and technology.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable, actually.
You never think you're going to end up here, but then suddenly you do. Right, absolutely. So you can never say never, right? And you shouldn't stick to just those things that you want. And really just being so lucky that we have an education, that we can get an education and a good education close by. We're so lucky, Yeah.
I just tell my kids, don't sleep through your classes, because it's all right there for the taking.
Exactly. It's up to us to seize it, right? And so you said you had to commute here. Was it far for you? Did you live near the area?
Oh no, I live nearby. What was difficult for me was I still had kids at home that I was trying to deal with and take care of. And I had been used to being a stay-at-home mom, so it was really hard for me to find time for myself and to prioritize studying. And I realized that it's no different for young people. They have friends that they have to tell, listen, I can't go out tonight, I've got a test tomorrow. We're all in the same boat, we're just at different places in our lives. But right now, while we're here, we're all here, just like you said.
That's right, yeah. And I'm sure you also, you had to probably adjust too with the TV show here when the pandemic hit. That was a huge adjustment.
Yes.
And you did the CCM's first ever Zoom show. So how was your experience with doing that? I mean, being the first one to do that?
Yeah, I really, I was happy. At that point, I'm like, we had experimented with so many different things, different sets, different shows, being on location, being in the studio, being in different studios. We had already experimented so much that it was just natural to go ahead and try this next thing. And, I really look forward to seeing what else you guys are going to do now, because there's really so much to do. We have this wonderful studio, 2 wonderful studios, and then we have cameras and equipment to go outside of the studio. Like when we did the something on Sunset, the Songs at Sunset, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we did that concert, and that was part of our show. That was wonderful. Then we did a baking show where we went into the kitchen and a cake competition there. We went into the respiratory therapy building and into those classrooms and did that. So, yeah, we're open to do all kinds of things.
Yeah,
not locked to anything.
It's cool to kind of experience a show, that's not just in the the actual studio setting that people are, normally used to.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to ask you next was, do you think you had a favorite episode that you filmed, something like you said outside of the studio, the cooking, or in the nursing building, anything like that?
Yes, I would say all three of those that I mentioned before. Plus, of course, when I interviewed my voice teacher, Melanie Matrano, the first time, and Gerson, and she sang, and I directed and produced and hosted that. It wasn't just because I did all three of those things, but it was because I was so happy to bring her in. I also brought in Professor Hoflinger, that it was my history professor. So it was really fun to do those shows with them and get to hear about their background and just kind of spend some time talking to them.
Yeah, you really get to know the professors a lot better,
yes.
And you get to explore with Professor Matrano. You got to explore the musical side of things, and
yes.
You guys were able to, of course, make a theme song together,
right.
which was really cool. And this all eventually led to you receiving the Gerard Beven Award.
Yes.
And so what what was it like receiving such a prestigious award? I mean, it must have been amazing.
It was amazing because it hadn't been created before that. So I was just like, what? There's this award and I'm getting it? So yes, I was so touched and surprised. You do so many things just because you love it, mm-hmm. and especially when you're young, when you're a student. And for me, all the volunteering I ever did, or so many jobs where I didn't make much money or I didn't do anything, I just did it because I loved it. And you do those things, and I think that's the most important thing, is to do things just because you love them. But to be surprised by that, to be given something because of the work that I did, was really meant so much to me. It really did. I was very surprised and very moved by it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
When you see your own professors, kind of recognizing, like you said, that hard work you're putting into an award, you feel such a great sense of pride in it, right?
Absolutely. And, Julian Costa, the producer here, he and I guess being who I am, a personality that I am, I sometimes wondered if I was too much for him. So when he actually gave me the award, I was very moved by it. And created this award, I think, just for those of us that he saw putting so much energy into this show, just like you do.
Yeah. I mean, with such a chaotic, you have to take care of 3 kids, and you were so used to working, from home, and now you had to kind of adjust and put this all together. It's nice to see, when you don't really expect it, that the professors are watching. They do see everything that you're doing. They are paying attention.
It's true, and that's a really good point, too, because people are watching. They don't always give you your constant, yay, 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 rah, rah, rah,
mm-hmm.
But that maybe you're used to getting from your parents, or maybe you're not, or, maybe you don't feel in yourself that you're doing enough, but people are watching, and this award was proof of that people appreciate your time and your effort.
Yeah, and lastly, I wanted to ask you, would you say that, you had a favorite part at CCM? I think I might know the answer to it, as it might be similar to mine, but, I think CCM has so many great things about it, but I think, there are some things that stand out. And what do you think stood out to you at your time at CCM?
Well, it was definitely getting to know the staff here in the Media Center. There's
mm-hmm.
no doubt about that, and all the opportunity that they gave me to grow in what I really love to do. The encouragement, the time, the work and time out of their day, and the professors. Professors don't get paid as much as they should.
Yeah.
They work so much more than just when they're just, lecturing in class or that kind of thing. And they're emailing back and forth. They care, and to know that people really cared about me and my education. I think that I had always thought, an education was for other people. I had friends that were going to universities, and I thought, cool for them. I mean, it's not for me, but cool for them. And then I got here and I'm like, oh, it's for me too.
Yeah. I think that's why there's such an emphasis placed on the community in community college, because I think that's what a lot of people don't really pay attention to, is the community that comes with, going to a school like the County College of Morris.
Yes. Yes, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and so I think that'll do it for us today, but I just wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. It was such an honor to have someone who was previously on the show, someone who's, was such a great host for so many shows, over 24 episodes, is that right?
Yeah.
And, I'm almost like your apprentice rising up, looking up to you, but thank you so much for joining us. And
you're doing a great job, but I do want to just say something,
yes,
because I'm a mom and I can't not give advice.
Yes.
So I do just want to say this, words of advice that to myself. Ask questions in class. Don't be afraid to not know the answer, because you don't know the answers. Don't be afraid to pursue those things that you love, but also challenge yourself with those things that you don't love. And value yourself and value the here and now and the time that you have in your life and the time that you are given to be here and learn something while you're here.
Wow.
Make the most of it.
I mean, that's amazing advice. I mean, like, all our viewers out there, I hope you guys are listening, because, this is someone who, has learned it all and taken it all in that you can get from, County College of Morris, a place like this. But thank you, Brenda. Thank you for joining us. This will conclude another edition of CCM All Access. From all of us on the crew, we wish you good health, and thank you for watching.